It's a flare up. Oh, she's in a flare. I'm flaring bad right now. How often have we heard statements like these from our fellow cronies or gals with UC? I bet you've said things like this about yourself at least a time or two, or five, or 20, or more, depending on how long you have had your digestive disorder. When it comes to Crohn's and colitis, it's all about the flare up. We live in a constant state of, am I flaring or am I in remission? And it can definitely be all consuming. But how do you know? How do you know if you are really and truly going through a flare up? How do you know if it's flare up material? Maybe it is stomach pain, like the quote unquote normal people, like that kind of stomach pain that everybody gets from time to time. Diarrhea, maybe, or other digestive symptoms from something completely unrelated to your Crohn's or colitis. That's what today's episode is all about. How do you know if it really is a flare up? Cue the music. And when it comes to a flare up, you know that every stinking day counts. Oftentimes we tend, especially moms, we tend to wait too long to decide what's going on. We don't have time to deal with it. We're busy with the kids, with errands, with work, with family obligations. We don't want to deal with it. It can't be that again. No, please, please not that again. We've already been through so much. We just want to wish it away. But the problem is that when we wait too long and we don't nip that flare in the bud, it can get out of control very quickly. It's like a forest fire that gets ignited with one match and then spreads out of control. If you've had Crohn's or colitis long enough, I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about. We've all waited too long to tackle a flare-up, and then we suffer the consequences. So the key to combating a flare successfully is to get on the flare-up right away. And the first step in that process is figuring out, is it a flare-up or is it something else? Well, let's find out. Deciding whether what you're going through qualifies as a flare-up is about asking yourself three important questions. Number one, what are my symptoms? Number two, how long have those symptoms been going on? And number three, what are the results of any testing I've had to determine if it is in fact a flare-up? Let's go ahead and talk about each of these questions in greater detail so that next time a flare-up strikes, or if maybe you're in the midst of wondering right now, what's going on with me? You'll know exactly what to do next. Is it a flare-up? Is it not? You'll know what to do about it. In speaking of knowing exactly what to do next, this episode is going to be tailored to the most important questions to ask yourself to know if your symptoms meet that dreaded level of flare-up. But after that, after you know and you gather all the necessary information and you decide, yes, I am in a flare-up, you need to know what to do next, right? That's the most important part. That's why I have got you covered. I have got you covered there as well. I have created my most extensive Crohn's and colitis flare-up protocol to date. It is your number one resource if you've gone through those three questions we'll talk about in this episode, and you've decided that you got to get on it. You have to get on that flare-up. It is time to bust it as fast as possible. It covers your best flare-up food choices, often overlooked lifestyle factors that can have a massive impact, as well as important gut healing supplements to bust that flare safely and quickly. I just wanted to mention that before we go any further, because I want you to know that even though today's episode is about those three most important questions, am I in a flare-up questions, I've got you covered with what to do next to help you get a jump on that flare-up fast. Okay, more on how to get your hands on that later. Let's go ahead and get back to what you need to know right now. Am I in a flare-up? And the question I mentioned to you that you'll want to ask yourself first is, what are my symptoms? What are my symptoms? While there are Crohn's and colitis symptoms that tend to come up for many, remember that with IBD, we're all out here in our own island. Crohn's and colitis can show up differently in each of us. We all experience our illness in different ways. Sucky, but true. Wouldn't it be so nice? Wouldn't it be so much easier if we all had the same symptoms? Wouldn't it make it so much easier to treat? But the key question to ask yourself here is, what are my normal digestive disorder symptoms? Let's say that in the past, when you've experienced a flare-up, you were taking multiple trips to the bathroom each day, lots more than normal. Your poops are very loose with mostly diarrhea. There's some blood in the toilet and you feel nauseous every time you eat. And you also have no energy. I'm talking lethargic, no energy at all. And your joints, they ache every time that you try to move. I just talked to a GLC member who had these exact symptoms with her flare. So this is definitely a profile of what a flare-up could look like for you. So knowing what your typical flare-up symptom profile is, it's really helpful in deciding if this is a flare. This particular flare, it may not follow the same exact pattern, but it's a great starting place. Next, and still within the symptom realm, you'll want to think about any other possibilities that this might be. Is it possible that it could be a bacterial infection? Perhaps there is a virus going around. Maybe it's going around your house. And at this point in time, we have to consider COVID too, right? Could it be COVID and not our illness flaring up? Could there be maybe even another possibility, another possible way to account for what's going on with you? Keep in mind that IBD symptoms, they can be GI, your gastrointestinal system, your digestive system, but they can also be non-GI related. Skin rashes can be common, headaches, fatigue, joint pain. These are all non-digestive symptoms, but many of them might be a sign of a flare for you. If you know that there's no cold, there's no flu going around in your house or in your community, there's no possibility of food poisoning or COVID or all of the other illnesses that you might have been exposed to, it's time to start thinking in the flare-up direction. Sad as it is, yeah, it's time to start thinking in that flare-up direction. One thing I want to mention before moving on to question number 2 is that it's important to remember that all of these things I listed, a cold, the flu, other contagious illnesses, all of these ailments, they can all lead us to a flare, can't they? I bet you've experienced that before, where just the common cold came up and you ended up with a flare after that. You ended up in a Crohn's and colitis flare after that. So if you decide that it's some sort of illness and it's not your Crohn's or colitis, I want you to still be cautious, because we know that illnesses like these, they can set you up for a relapse of your disease.